This is the Parenting IQ podcast where our mission is to equip you during your child's academic years to bring learning to the daily little moments. I'm your host, Dr. Kelly Cagle, and I want to welcome you to Season 4, Little Moments, Big Impacts. Today, I'm talking to Joshua Adams. And you guys, before I even read this really cool bio that he's got, he's a super interesting guy, I want to say something. You guys, my lifelong learners, friends, you know that I'm so glad this is our motto because I didn't even tell him I was going to bring this up. This is our second recording of this conversation. Because here's the thing. Y'all think that this is simple. You just hit a button and you start talking, right, Joshua's? It's like, no, there's a lot to it. And
there is.
We've recorded a whole amazing episode. 45 minutes of truth, of really good stuff. And then it was junk because I am a lifelong learner. And this equipment that I have, this fancy old equipment that I have with me, I just don't know how to manage it. Anyways, you guys, so this is take 2 of this chat with Joshua Adams. And I'm so excited because again, I've already heard this. I've already done this talk with him and it's going to be so good. So buckle up, get ready. So Joshua, he graduated from Wofford College and then he went to work at the White House. And then the South Carolina governor's office, and then Elevation Church. So if that already doesn't get you excited to listen to this guy, I don't know what will. But Joshua and his wife, Alexa, love walking their dog, Olive. And then they also love exploring cultures and countries. Joshua brings a wealth of expertise in managing YouTube channels with over 5 million subscribers, which is where Dr. Kelly Cagle's YouTube page is headed, right?
Yeah.
So give us
easy,
some tips
easy.
here. Yeah, I hope so. But really, your work, Joshua, is to equip the next generation to thrive online. And you do that with your partnership with Parent ProTech, right?
Yeah, that's it. Well, Dr. Cagle, it's great to be here for a second time. I enjoyed our first conversation. I'm pumped to be back. So.
Yeah, you got the invite back. So that means that you definitely aced it. No, I'm just kidding. You
except no one will get to hear the first one.
Oh, well. No, they don't want to. It sounded awful. It was super echoey. And my amazing producers was like, Kelly, I don't think you hit the right buttons there. And I'm like,
no, well, it happens. It happens.
You got some sour news. First thing Monday morning, right? But anyways, here we are, Joshua, take 2. Can you talk to us a little bit about this super unique work experience that you've had? White House, Governor's Office, Elevation Church, and now Parent ProTech. How did you do all of that and get to the place where you are now?
Of course. So we'll start in college. When I was in college, my vision was I liked politics. I mean, that's a tough thing to say, but I like the ability to, how we're all impacted by politics, whether we like it or not, and the ability to impact so many people. And I was also into news and media. And so I thought maybe I would go into news. I did a lot of interning kind of work in that political world. And that's where I actually met Brock, who's our CEO and one of our founders of Parent ProTech. But all that to say, went on and ended up really leaning more into the video media side of things with social media work and working at Elevation Church and being able to manage like our YouTube channels and our localization, how we're reaching different cultures and languages. All that to say, the more time I spent there, the more I myself even got reeled into YouTube specifically, but social media. And the more aware I became of how, so many of these platforms, social media in general, they are designed to reel us in, us and our kids. But then they have profit models that are based on reeling us in and keeping us hooked and keeping us wanting more, watching more. And so about a year ago when Brock, and I'd helped Parent ProTech in some of the early years, we're about 3 going on 4 years old. But when Brock approached me about joining the team, it just felt right, because I was like, hey, like I really believe in this. And also, even my wife, you mentioned her, Alexa's her name, she's a teacher. And so I see the impact that this stuff has in her classroom, and how it's affecting her students. And, she talks about it. She brings the stories home. And so,
That's awesome.
I really believe in what we're doing, because, we want to take all of this experience and bring experts, not just from social media, but, all different aspects of tech, and help families, help parents, because it's a lot. It can be daunting.
Yeah. Okay. So go into and tell us a little bit about what Parent ProTech is.
So our heart is, well, our heart really is, we say, if we can help one student from being cyberbullied, or if we can help one student becoming addicted to one of these, or one student from meeting a stranger, a predator on a video game or online in any capacity, we will have one. If we can help just one, that's a win for us. But the way we accomplish this is we partner with schools, partner with organizations, and we built this platform. And you could think of it as like a YouTube or a Netflix, but for online safety and tech information. And you go here, we have videos, we have resources, trying to equip parents, trying to equip educators, community leaders, with everything they need to know about tech. And if we don't have a resource, we tell people, hey, reach out to us, let us know, we want to help point you in the right direction, or build something to address the need that you're seeing. So if it's social media, we have walkthroughs for parents. If it's gaming, AI, streaming, phones, the list goes on. We have videos and resources on all those different categories, and specific videos on different apps and platforms within each one. And so that's a part of it. Then we also have a digital citizenship curriculum, because, as much as we would love if every child had an involved parent who cared about this stuff, it's just not the case. And so we're trying to reach students at school, and we've aligned with an awesome team of educators that have built this out to really speak to students in a relevant way, because we find the gap with a lot of the digital citizenship curricula out there. That is a weird word, curricula. But the gap is a lot of it's outdated. It's talking about like Facebook and MySpace when it comes to social media. And it's just a different landscape, that we have today. So there's the platform, there's curriculum. We're doing presentations with communities. And now we're even doing more like coaching with families when it comes to tech, or even problem solving when emergencies come up. So, even last week we had a case of someone being like harassed and extorted over Instagram. And so we were able to come in, support the family, help the one who was facing all that. So it's vast. I know that was a lot, but really it's like, if there's any way we can help families, we're trying to do that.
Bridge the gap. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, because, I am not extremely old, but also when I was in college is when I first got Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was not a teenager going through this. I was not a tween having to navigate these questions to my parents, these requests, right? And there was so much development taking place in my mind, in my brain during that season, that I was a little more mature to navigate these things. Like, hey, I can not accept a friend request if I don't want to. Yeah. I had more of a maturity. That's all.
Yeah, 100%.
And these, 100%. But now looking back, now I'm a mom and I have my own kids needing to navigate that space that I myself did not navigate. Yeah. And I know I'm speaking for a lot of the parents nowadays. And we understand, for example, let me just say this, TikTok. Okay. I have a TikTok account, Dr. Kelly Cagle. Y'all can look it up, but you'll see that it's really splotchy because I don't understand the platform and I'm not that old, but I just don't get it. There's so many elements to it and so many, anyways, all that to say,
it's
our kids are raising a different, they're raising
even for me growing up, I was kind of in that first generation. I'm like a older millennial or maybe a young Gen Z. I think I could be classified, depending on, who's talking, but I was like among that first generation that really, like, when I was a teen, I had, tech and some social media. But even when I look at what I had back then and what students have now, I mean, it's night and day different. And now when there's, all of how strong the algorithms are and how powerful they are to, find your interest and show you content based on that, to all the ads and all the marketing and, how much information is collected on your device and used to show you things. I mean, the list goes on, and it's like, wow, that.
Yeah.
Even for me, we study this stuff. Like, we have experts that, we're trying to monitor this.
So with you guys studying this stuff, can you tell us some staggering statistics that we really need to know about, or that we should, that kind of raises our awareness of, ooh, maybe I should be paying attention,
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's so many, honestly. It's almost like, where do I begin? Because we don't want to live in fear. Like at Parent ProTech, like our heart is like, if we can help families and students build a healthy relationship with technology, that's what we want to do. But the reality is, a lot of times it takes these numbers to wake parents up, to make them aware. So, I mean, what are some of the numbers? Well, there's been multiple studies that find that in teens who spend 3 or more hours a day on social media, they face double the risk of anxiety or depression. Even a Common Sense Media study, they're a nonprofit that does a lot of research in this space. They found that the average age of students' first exposure to pornography to be 12 years old. And there's been a lot of other researchers even suggest that number's a lot lower. And we find in many of those cases, the students weren't even seeking it out. It's just something that they stumbled upon, that they found. The FBI says there's over 500,000 online predators active every single day.
Oh, sick.
I mean, like, this is the scenario online and with tech when we're setting our kids up. And the last one that I think just really illustrates. That's 2 big words. Really illustrates. Not sure how I got there. Last one that I think really illustrates.
Church, elevation church, orchestrate. I don't know. I'm trying to help you out.
This one really illustrates the situation we're in. And it's that the average amount of time that a U.S. teen is spending on tech for fun, for entertainment. So this is not for productivity. This is not for school. This is simply for fun, is 8.5 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
So, if we're awake for 24, that's over if we're awake, if we have 24 hours, that's over a third of, our time in a day that the average US teen is just spending on tech, on devices, screen time for fun. So
and then let's just do the math real quick. If you spend 8 hours at school, some of that time they're scrolling while teachers are talking. Let's be real, right? Yeah. But also, let's say that they're not. Then that's 8 hours plus 8 hours. That's 16 hours. And you're going to bed. And, my son is always, he has a device. And we can also talk about when it's appropriate to get a device, because that's a conversation that I know gets brought up, I'm sure, often to you guys, because it does get brought up to me very, very often.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But he says, my friends were texting at 2 a.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where is the rest that these kids are growing? Their brain is not developed. And then we want to complain about how they behave out in public. Are you serious? How are you helping them?
Yeah.
How are you setting them up for success?
Yeah.
Right. As a parent.
And I think one like, even of the most basic things, or it sounds basic, but it's like just setting some basic boundaries. Like, even when it comes to phones, we found a lot of the particularly explicit or dangerous situations that students find themselves in result from them having access to a phone or device in a room, their room, secluded from others. A lot of times it's late at night. So, even for parents, like, this world can feel so daunting. And I think a lot of the solutions aren't even that hard. It's like, hey,
I agree.
Why don't let's leave our devices on the kitchen counter an hour before we go to bed. That's a small one, but that, think about, like,
and it's so simple.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just,
exactly.
it's practical little things that parents, and you're right. Okay, if you are switching, let's say that you gave them a device and they had all the freedom, and then you became aware, you listened to our discussion and you're like, wow, this is terrible. I need to reel back a little bit. Are you going to be received with a lot of anger, frustration from your teenager or your tween? 100%. Yes, you will.
Yeah.
We're not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you it's going to be super easy. And they're going to be like, sure, mom, here you go. That's not going to be the case. However, and again, it goes back to, there are a whole bunch of different researchers that say different things, but 21, 28 days to establish a new habit. That's not that long. That's not that long of you putting up with their crap, of giving you crap and giving you attitude and hating your guts for 28 days to then have a healthy relationship with a device in the long run. You will experience their attitude shift. This is proven. This is research-based information that we're talking about. If you pull back on their screen exposure, look at me, I can't talk either. Their screen exposure, their screen time use, it will help. And this is because it ties back to stimulation. And overstimulation in front of screens and the lights and the noise and the, rewards, all the noises, and their attention span will increase. It really is so beneficial. And you said it right. It's simple boundaries. It's not, no, you can't have it ever. It's, let's have it in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm curious, you mentioned your son, your oldest, being on some tech or having a phone. Like what does that look like for you, or what does that process look like? Because I know I think you probably have more knowledge and awareness than probably the average parent in this space. So I think there's a lot we can learn. So
this is a great question. I'm so glad you're the first one to ever ask me a question being interviewed. And I love this because let's do this. This is a question that I do get asked all the time. First of all, whenever he got a device because of a need. So he's 12, he's almost 13. Okay. So for a lot of parents, you're like, not until 16, not until they're driving. I was 16 when I got a phone. But again, this was 2002, right? Like 22 years ago. Don't do the math, people, but seriously, it was when there was a need. However, what I'm trying to say is he had a need because he plays soccer. There were times that I needed to get in touch with him, that maybe he was at school, but the school office was closed, or I dropped him off at training and I had to run an errand, and then I parked somewhere else from where I dropped him off, and I couldn't tell him. What if he couldn't find me, or if I was running late? That, to me and my husband, we both agreed that it reached a point that we were dropping him off places and that we weren't with him all the time any longer, that we wanted to be able to reach him. So he was 11. He got a Gab phone. And I know that you're familiar with Gab Wireless. They are one of these safe tech devices. So it's a phone that, for us, we had pagers back in the day. But even if you gave your child a pager nowadays, they couldn't find a payphone, right? They no longer exist unless you're in Europe, and then you can stumble upon a payphone. But here they don't exist. We are in the United States. So sure, they could ask a buddy and sure, all of the things, right? But we got him a Gab phone that he could call us, he could text us. And I know that they also have watches, right? I know that you guys support all of their devices. They have the smartwatch and they have the phone. We decided on a phone because if he was spending the night at a friend's house, kind of what you were talking about, this exposure, he is 12. Okay. So let's say that he did spend the night at a friend's house. They were looking at things that he did not want to be a part of. Then instead of him having to get on the watch and talk to us out loud and maybe, right. Josh said, my husband said, hey, I want him to have a phone. That way we can kind of set up a code word or phrase that he can say, hey, I want some pizza or whatever it is. That's not it, by the way. So don't worry. But then we would know, okay, we need to go get him.
100%.
So
I think, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think so many parents we find aren't even aware of the fact that these devices are out there. We talk about Gab. I mean,
for sure.
There there are so many
Yeah.
companies making these great devices designed with kids in mind. You know, I mean, I have an
Praise
iPhone.
Jesus.
I love Apple. iPhones are great, but the iPhone wasn't necessarily built for teens. Now they've added a lot of great features, a lot of parental controls, but still, at the end of the day, there's a lot of workarounds. You know, whereas there are so many other devices that really were built for teens, were built for tweens. You know, were built for kids as they're growing up to have more features enabled, more things. So, yeah, I love what you've shared about Gab, because I'm like,
we ease our way in.
Yeah,
you know, it's just like, okay, here you turn 16. Here's some car keys. Boom. Parents don't do that, because then you are risking their life. But parents also don't realize the risk of life that they're doing to their, what they're causing their kids.
The impact on their brain.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so there's protection that we can take place whether we're handing over keys or we're handing over a device. And that's what we believed we were able to do by handing him a safe device to build. We wrote a contract. We talked about these things. We said at any point this could be taken away from you. And like you said, the room situation, that's a boundary that we also established. There were several things because he is a boy. I'm a boy mom. I've got 3 boys. So
bless you.
Thank you. Amen. I receive it, Jesus. And I've also told Josh, you've got to have these conversations with them, because we're also not stupid. We can't be naive as parents. We can't think, oh, not my kid. This is not going to happen to my kid. No. Yeah. They, we were kids once. And so just because you feel like you're doing a great job doesn't mean that your kid is not. And I'm not saying that kids are doing this, manipulating you, but there could be things going on behind the scenes. And so I think that the most proactive we are of doing things in the forefront can be beneficial for them. So talking about, you mentioned a lot of students, a lot of school leaders, and even what your wife, Alexa, has talked about, shares with you. Can you tell us a little bit? Because as parents, a lot of times I don't hear the issues these kids are dealing with, right? I do from the research perspective, but can you share with other parents some of the things that you're hearing that we need to be aware about?
Of course. And first off, as we're closing up the phone topic, we do have shameless plug. We do have a video on YouTube where we break down multiple phones that were designed for like kids and teens and different situations that they might be valuable.
Okay, repeat that again. What?
So it's on the Parent ProTech YouTube channel. So I think it's called The Ultimate Guide to Kids or Teens Smartphones. I can't remember, but we're breaking down.
You can email me this
and
information. We'll add it to the show notes on drkellycagle.com, and that way people can have access to that, because the most educated we can be, the better decisions we can make. So
100%.
thank you for that. Definitely send that over.
And then, now to answer the question, when it comes to issues we're seeing at school, or just in communities, there are a lot. And I think it reflects how much of tech we've, integrated into our lives. But I think, some of the big ones, it's bullying, cyberbullying. I mentioned earlier in the call, issues around extortion, specifically sextortion, where students are taking nudes that might have been shared consensually and using them to manipulate people. Or now we're even seeing a rise in like deep fakes from AI. So now there are multiple AI tools even in South Carolina, where I live, we had one of the first prosecutions from one of these against a 14-year-old boy. And basically he used a tool to create nude images of a classmate, just with images of her face. And, that's the technology that's out there. Even one of our lawmakers, the reason that it was prosecuted in South Carolina is because in the district just beside mine, our local state rep, he actually lost his son to sextortion. And so now he is working very hard to speak out for these, because it's kind of uncomfortable. It's not the easiest thing to talk about. And his son was an active young guy. He got taken advantage of by two men in Nigeria, and they had gotten him. They had convinced him that this account was a teenage girl. He'd gotten videos, he's gotten pictures. Turns out it was these in Nigeria, and they were trying to get money from him. And when he couldn't continue to post the amount of money that they were requesting, he took his life. And so all that to say, that's something that we're seeing more and more, just the prevalence of, people taking advantage of the developing teens, situation on that front. But I mean, another big area is screen time addiction. And when it comes to, so many students spending so many hours on their phones and parents asking us like, my child's addicted to Roblox or, Minecraft or their phone, what can I do? And I think one word of hope is like, there's hope, I don't think you can be too far gone, like you were talking about earlier. There certainly are situations where, it might be really hard to remove some of that screen time or to set those boundaries now, but it's not hopeless. There's still room. So, I could go on. And I think we try to answer a lot of these questions with our videos and resources. We're even creating a series now that's just help ... And we're having a lot of the questions we get asked. We're making these basic videos and resources for kind of just a guide for families. If it's like, okay, my child found porn online. What do I do? I found out my child's talking to a stranger online. What do I do? My child wants a phone. They want social media. What do I do? So we're trying to just go over some of those, like the basic principles, because, it's a lot to navigate, but there's a lot of people like yourself, who we're in it together. Like we're in this fight. 100%. We're going to figure it out. Yeah.
So. Well, and Joshua, the thing too is, I think you and I would agree. You already brought up the fact that you have an Apple phone and you love it. You work. It's very useful for you. And same thing with social media. We can't deny the fact that we love it. Look, we met on social media. You and I connected, our Parent ProTech and myself connected through social media. And so there really I am originally from Brazil. And so I stay in touch with my family in Brazil. And so there's a lot of good that can come from social media. And even friends that I've met over the years in college and connections that I've made, business partnerships and collaborations, right? So but also we are adults. And what we were saying, what we brought up earlier is that maturity, our brains are mature. A guy's brain in particular doesn't fully mature until the age of 22 to 25. So you can't just expect them, as you're bringing up this 14-year-old boy and his story. That's all that was ringing in my mind is you're like, oh my gosh, he should have known better. As a parent, you're thinking, oh, he should have known better. His parents should have known better. But listen, kids don't fully understand because they are not fully developed. So we can't blame them and we can't hold them accountable for something that in their minds really seemed harmless, right? He really thought that with what you also brought up, Roblox and Minecraft. Yeah. And even again, going back to the story of this 14-year-old boy, I believe that the online realm gives kids, and I see this time and time again, this is a conversation that I have with parents because I myself also do coaching. And so I come alongside parents and walk with them through these things because sometimes it's overwhelming. It can be really overwhelming. They're clueless on knowing what to do. But the thing is that there's a false sense of community that comes from an online presence. So you have a certain number of followers, you're popular, you must be really, really liked. And then you have little Susie over here who doesn't have that same number of followers. So then she's perceived just from the social media presence that, oh, she's not liked. She's a nobody. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Or you guys playing, what is it? The shooting one, Fortnite. That's huge right now.
Fortnite.
Well, this is what I do every summer with my friends. We get together, we're hanging out. No, you're not. You are not talking life. You're not doing life together. You are shooting fake people together. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just this false sense of reality, false sense of community that our kids can fall to, because we too can be there.
No, one thought I had when you're talking about even social media, one of the studies, it's actually a series of studies, done globally, is looking at the impact of that, all of those metrics, those likes, those affirmations that come on social media in the form of followers, comments, shares, views, all the metrics and numbers that you see. And it's two groups of teens that the study was looking at. The first group, they had social media accounts where they received a lot of like positive traction. So they got followers, got likes, a substantial amount. And then the second group over here, it's not that they didn't get any negative reactions. It's just they simply didn't get as many as they thought they deserved. They weren't getting as much as that first group. And it took the direct quoted words from the authors of this talk about how in this group, that instance, them not getting as much positive affirmation, not getting as many followers, not getting as many likes, they say it elicited emotional distress in many of them. And they went on to report anxious feelings. Many reported being depressed, even talking about suicidal ideation, or we're having suicidal ideation in that group. And I think, that just illustrates, like when you're talking about social media and you think about our brains versus a developing teen's brain. And it's like, hey, we have some of the smartest engineers, developers, tech experts in the world who are getting paid exceedingly well, on these incredible teams, building these products that are designed to reel people in. They're designed, that's how they make money. And, I don't fault them for that. I don't think even a lot of these platforms, when they were built, I don't even think they fully could even have imagined what they have become. Like when Mark Zuckerberg was a Harvard student coding this app to pick between two girls and pick who's hotter, their words, not mine. Do you think he would have thought that he would now have a platform with, half of the world's population? I don't think so, But that's where we are. And it's like when we put our kids in those environments without the proper restrictions, boundaries, controls, and just conversations and relationships, we're not setting them up to succeed.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Well, Joshua, would you have any additional final thoughts or comments that you want to share with our audience about equipping communities in general, not just maybe our teens, parents, everybody, to safely navigate technology? It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. So how can we safely
That's the truth.
embrace it?
I think, we've talked a lot about, some higher level things, but I want to really zoom in on just us personally. I think so much of this revolves around what are you or I doing? What are we modeling to our kids? I don't have kids yet. We have a dog. But to even, in the community, different things but especially to parents, what are you modeling? There's this word that we use, and it's a little funny, but just hang with me. It's called phubbing. Okay. Phubbing. I phubbed. We've all phubbed. Okay. Phub, P-H-U-B, look it up. Phubbing. Okay. Just hang with me. And so all phubbing is this concept of choosing your device over the people around you, over a conversation. So, this might be Alexa's asking me something and I'm sending an email and I'm like, hey, wait, let me send this first. And we've all done it, and this is something where, it could be as simple as that. What are you modeling? Are you on your device at the dinner table? Are you putting your phone up before you go to bed? Are you modeling that healthy lifestyle that you want to see? One of our team members, our video game content creator, we were recording something last week and he talked about, he was so many of the parents that he interacts with in the video game space, a lot of the parents are also gamers. And he's many times he hears them say that they want their students to be these certain ways that they aren't even living out themselves. I don't want my student to do this, play at these times, act in these certain ways, but I do. And it's whether you like it or not, your student is going to look to you. They're going to model what they see. And so I think across the board with tech, it starts with us. It starts with you and me. And being intentional about, even a lot of the things we talk about, real quick. So we think about the whole concept of equipping students as like a pyramid. So like the food pyramid. So what's at the bottom is the most essential, and then you build up from there. And we look at it as at the bottom, it's relationships. So it's, you letting your sons know, hey, if you encounter issues, you can come to me. Or if, you can go to that person at school, or you can go to this, who is that network of people that, that you trust, that you can rely on, and that can help you process things. And then it's on top of relationships, it's resources, where it's like, hey, if something feels off on social media, how do I report it? If I encounter something bad on a video game, what do I do? What are the practical tools that are there to help me? How do I take action? And then at the very top, it's restrictions. And restrictions, I mean, they're certainly important. They're essential.
Right.
Don't just give your child a device with no restrictions, because you're just setting them up to see a lot of stuff that they're not developmentally prepared for. But, I think when we look at all of that together, it's like, these practical things can help. That can be a guide, but ultimately it starts with you. It starts with me.
That's very, very good. That's a mic drop moment. I have nothing to follow up that. I mean, I just can't do anything, because I'm with you, Joshua, and Parent ProTech. Thank you guys for doing this work, because it's not a matter of, I call it low tech. You don't have to have technology consume your home. You can be a low tech family. And that just starts with having boundaries. Listen, we have several TVs. If you walk into my office, you're going to see my computer, but then I also have I have my laptop, but I have two larger screens because I need to see things better, and we have all of the things, all of the guys, we have it all. But if you set boundaries to, hey, okay, you can watch 30 minutes real quick. That's enough for one show. And now turn it off. You give them, the kids, a chance to have the relationship that you're talking about with one another, and to self-regulate in a safer way. So I'm not going to try to follow up with anything else. That was amazing.
Well, and I love what you're talking about, and I think that's where, yes, come to Parent ProTech, learn about the tech side of it, but also like you mentioning self-regulation and some of the developmental stuff. Like if parents can marry the two, if they can understand the tech enough, or just have some basic concepts, but then also understand what's going on in their teen's head and how they can parent accordingly, they're set up well. You're ahead of the majority of us.
Then it's just health, right? We're talking health here, long term, long health. So Joshua, I really appreciate you sharing with us, and take two doing this again. Hey. I really appreciate you being so gracious and forgiving, and being here again, because I know that was wonderful words of wisdom. And at Parent ProTech, you guys, thank you for the work that you're doing to help us, navigate this ever-changing world of technology. So thanks so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Dr. Cagle. Hey, we're in this fight together.
Yes, we are. Lifelong learners, we will see you guys next week. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.